The lips are an area to treat, but it's typically one of the last areas to treat. It's like putting paint on windows. If you put paint on windows before the house is done, it's gonna be like, that's kind of weird. Your bony structure is your foundation. When you have volume loss here, as typically people do, and age-related changes, if you don't replace and restore some of that structure, putting it on the lips is actually gonna draw more attention to the fact that you got your lips done. Sure, you can get all these treatments done, heels and lasers and microneedling, but if you don't have a solid foundation, then your skin is not optimally functioning. Your skin is not healthy. You have to have that solid foundation. Otherwise, you're targeting different concerns that you potentially have, but you're not gonna ever fully see the result. And then what are you gonna think? Skincare doesn't work.
Okay, so I, first of all, love the fact that I meet experts or people that actually worked in an industry that starts brands. So you started Barefaced and you have your background. You were a nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. You are a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
And you also worked at an ICU, the pediatric ICU?
Yeah, I did like a handful of ICUs, before becoming, like while I was in school for a nurse practitioner,
Which for me, I obviously stopped at that because I think that it's such a unique experience that you've experienced. So as a mother of 4, because we're just talking about kids, anything that you picked up from like your time at the ICU, because there you're dealing with crisis management. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would say there's so many things. First of all, I love that you say you love experts because that's like how I live my life too. Like I want to find an expert that I trust, whatever like specialty it may be, because you can only be an expert in so many things, right? It's like, so I can't try to be an expert in like fitness or cardiology. It's like, you can only be an expert in so many things. I want to find an expert that I trust and then like kind of follow what they're saying because I trust that they've like done the research, they've done it all. So like, I love that mentality. I do that with my hairstylist. I'm like, I'm not going to do the research to like figure out what I should use for my hair, but if you're telling me because I trust you, like I'm going to use the products that you recommend. So it's like, I think relying on experts is a way that you can like fast track a lot of your own like personal growth because, you know, I'm not going to try to figure out my workouts. I'm going to use an app where like the expert's telling me what to do every day. So first of all, I just love that you said that because it's like such a good way. It's like a hack. It's like a life hack. Use experts and don't try to be an expert in everything.
But also, how do you navigate the oversaturation of experts? Because today you don't really need any you have the prerequisite and the credentials, but there's so many people self-acclaimed experts. So like, how do people even navigate that? Like, honestly, I don't know.
Credentialing is really important for a lot of industries, but then it's also not that important for a lot of industries. Like I would say you're an expert in like fashion, right? And you don't have I don't know if you have a degree in it, but it's like some of that's just years. What is it? Like 10,000 hours you can become an expert in something?
Sure.
Well, that may not be true if you don't have like a medical degree and you can't become a doctor just by practicing 10,000 hours unless you have the degree. So I would say like, I think it's great that there's a lot of experts because that means there's a lot of varying opinions and you can figure out like what speaks to you and what message relates with you. I like to believe that like there's a lot of good people, you know?
I think it also requires like an accountability and self-awareness, like you picking up the things that work for you. I always think about, for the longest time we've been even over relying on experts, on even doctors.
Totally.
Like we're putting so much on them and putting them on this pedestal where at the end of the day, like they're there to give you the information and it's up to you to see how it works for you and if it works for you. So there is definitely also the idea of take control over your life, you know, make your choices and move on. Okay, so I have an expert sitting in the chair today. So first of all, I want you to answer my first question.
ICU.
Of course, the ICU. Yes.
Okay, so the ICU, I would say, I mean, a ton of problem solving for sure. What I learned from that, one, you have to disassociate a lot of emotion. I don't know if I could have been in that role now being a parent. I didn't have kids when I was in that role, working with like neonatal ICU, pediatric ICU, like it's very heavy. It definitely made me a better problem solver because you can't panic. And I think that I see that in pretty much all aspects of life, especially parenting, running a business. You have to problem solve. So I don't really get paralyzed by a problem. I'm like jump straight into problem solving. And I saw that with patients as I was treating as a nurse practitioner, seeing like their problems and then like Barefaced was a solution to that, like simplifying that process, answering, like being a solution to their skincare issues and their skin issues, like calm problem solving. Because it's
powerful.
like pausing, taking that minute to pause and then figure out, okay, what do I have control over? Because there's no reason to get like worked up over something I don't. What do I have control over? Then like, what can I do and what steps can I take to like solve this problem?
I love that. That's huge. I mean, I think it's obviously a huge tool to have when building a business for sure. Raising kids. I feel like my kids are teaching me that because you go through so many of these challenges so often that at some point you're like, okay, I gotta, use different kind of muscles to problem solve this. My husband has it naturally. I'm more of like the I just shut down. I'm like, would Jesus take the wheel? I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But Gary is amazing at that. But that's, I'm sure, is an amazing skill to have. And then you moved from that to becoming an injector.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did you move from that to that? Did you always know you want to go into this esthetician type of?
Yes. So you know those times in life and where you're just like not feeling good about your skin, or where you felt like you needed to cover up your skin because you're embarrassed of it, or you're like trying to cover up a blemish. That has been a core like pillar in my life for as long as I can remember, feeling like uncomfortable with my skin. So when I think back on like middle school, high school, like I've always had just a various skin issue, and so that's something where your skin is like what you're putting out there into the world. You can't put a sweater on your face. And so it kind of led me down the path of, okay, I want to be a part of helping people with their skin journey. And so I wanted to lean in more into like cosmetic dermatology. So I was doing injectables, skincare for sure. Obviously I would see patients. And when you see patients for injectables, and I worked at a plastic surgeon's office for a long time too. So we really were full scope. We were treating cosmetic dermatology and had a surgical approach as well, which I think was really, really helpful because you see patients so vulnerable. They're coming in with their biggest insecurity, and maybe it's on their face or their body, but they're sharing with you. And I think for me, it helped me realize like, oh yeah, I'm not alone. Like a lot of people feel like that, and it can feel very lonely because you're like, oh, like I have this skin issue, but no one else does, because you know why? We look at ourselves way deeper. That's why if you have a magnifying mirror, throw it away. No one is looking at your face like that.
Yeah.
But we are like hypercritical of ourselves, and so to see that replayed thousands and thousands of times over with like the patients that I would see, and just like how that was impacting their life. I was seeing people willing to invest in these office treatments, but they didn't really know what to do for their skin, and they were troubled by it. So I always use the example of like going to the dentist. If you go to the dentist, twice a year, but you don't brush your teeth in between, like what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
If you're doing an office treatment once a year, twice a year, but you're not doing your daily routine, like what do you think is going to happen? You're probably not going to have the skin that you want. When they were, explaining or sharing with me their struggles or like what their skin was like, they didn't really have a solution to like their problem. And it wasn't because skincare doesn't exist, because obviously it does, but it was like, okay, now I know I feel uncomfortable with my skin. I'm looking for a solution to treat it. But like, what do I do? Because the skincare industry is so vast. It's like, well, okay, so now what do I do? Like go on TikTok, or what do I like go on social media, Google?
Yeah.
Or like, it's so overwhelming. And somewhere along the lines, regular everyday people started to like have to be responsible to treat their own skin. Whereas like, you're not prescribing yourself a medication, or if you have a cavity, like you're not like, okay, how do I treat my cavity? You're gonna go to the dentist. The skin is an organ. The everyday person is supposed to like figure out how to treat it on their own, but not even knowing their skin type. How would you know?
No, this landscape is so difficult to navigate. You got into it from a place of like helping yourself and helping people. I feel like there's two different kind of passions to get into it. And what I see today with younger injectors that are coming into the industry is more about the aesthetics of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So not skin health, but more like balancing how it looks.
So I think the injectable industry, like just with anything, right? It's been abused for sure. It's crazy that like anyone can be an injector.
Well,
basically,
exactly.
Like it's kind of scary. When I started injecting, and I've been in this industry for a decade, everyone was like overdone. And I remember just feeling very misunderstood. And like, I feel like I was like one of the first, and there was definitely, I'm not the first by any means, but like that was really into like the natural results and like the anti-aging kind of like concept as a whole. And so I'm not trying to look different, especially if you're in the industry, you can really get blinded to like what reality is.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like the concept, you even forget the way your face looks. Like you get used to this new look and then you want more and more and more. And I see that happening.
It's a problem.
And how do you even
I hope it's changing though. Yeah. So we used to always say that within 2 weeks, you almost like forget what your face looks like after like a procedure. So after everything kind of settles, you're like, you don't really remember like the previous you.
Yeah.
And so that's where I do feel like if you're interested in it, you really need to find someone, and you don't want to jump around. Like you want to find someone that you trust that like is evaluating your face, because you're not going to know. And I would say that for an injector too. Like you need to find, as an injector, I'm so picky about who injects my face. I'm not just like, oh, you can do like.
So how do you
How do I
make
approach it?
sure that you choose the right person?
Okay, so I would say a series of things. One, you want someone that has like experience,
Right.
and
I mean, I hope that's a given.
right. Like you want to like don't. But a lot of people will sign up for trainings. It's like, oh, I'm being my friend's training to be an injector. Like I'll sign up to be her. Like
Yeah,
so
that
that's
scares me.
Well, yeah, it's like cool. You're getting that for free or at a discount or something. But like experience for sure. Before and after pictures. What does that injector look like? That's going to tell you a lot about what they think looks good. Because I mean, I would hope that they think they look good. If your injector doesn't look like what you think a normal person looks like, then you probably don't want to go see them. So I would really look at like what that person looks like. And then so many people are on social media now, like you can get a feel and a vibe for someone based on like how they approach things. And so for me, I think the landscape of injectables is changing because most people that I talk to, and you probably feel like this too, like they don't want to be like that. They just want to like look like the best version of themselves.
Yes.
And just like a little bit of like tweaking. And so I think you're going to see a lot of biostimulatory fillers like a Sculptra or like a Radiesse that are stimulating your collagen, and they're less about augmenting. I think there's always going to be a place for hyaluronic acid fillers, which are fillers that pull in water. The lips, for example, I think can actually be a really beautiful area to be injected. They've just been overdone. In the industry, like so now you like look at someone, you're like, it's just too much. But the lips peak in volume between 14 and 18. So if you're 35, you're just going to have natural volume loss. And then temples too. Temples are an area that look really beautiful with filler, but like it's an area that you're like, oh, you look good, but you don't know why. You don't know why someone looks good, but you're like,
love that you
good.
mentioning those areas specifically to kind of, pay attention to. So temples, and then the lips. You said you started losing volume after 35.
No, you start losing volume after like 18.
Oh.
So if you're 35, you've got, carry the one. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
math is hard, but like
whatever
that is, it's like 15 years or something, not as much, but like 12 years of not having having volume loss to the lips. So just like augmenting a little bit can be really helpful. There's just different areas where you're naturally going to lose volume, or if you like sleep on a certain side, typically that side has less volume. So there's just areas to look for. But I think injectables are going to evolve. I think with anything, when something first comes out, there's a lot of extremists.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like things have evolved. I think I remember being like in high school, my mom was getting injectables. So like it's been going on for long enough that I think people are like getting a feel for, people want to look normal.
It hit me yesterday. I went to the ballet with my mom and I saw this woman, and it hit me how it's already changing, because when I looked at her face, I'm like, this is outdated now. Like I can see, the fillers, they're like over proportionate things. And it's true. It's already happening.
Yeah.
And I do think that the younger generation is doing a really good job with really finding and looking for, to keep the integrity of their face, but just, it's all about like the tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
When I got, let's say, Botox for the first time, or even when I got my revision rhinoplasty recently, the first thing that I do is I ask for these ridiculous things and I see how the doctor reacts. So I had a couple of times. Yeah, to me, that's like how I make sure that I'm going to the right person.
Tell me an example of something you asked for.
So when I went to my doctor, I was like, I think maybe I'll do like a brow lift, because everyone's doing a brow lift now.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he's like, how do you want it to look? And I'm just literally lifting like a little. He's like, no, I'm not doing it for you. I was like, okay, good. And then I said, should I do this? He's like, no. The amount of no's kept me feeling so much more confident with him, because with yourself, you can get lost in it, especially when you get to see all the things that are out there now on social media and all the treatments and all the things. So I always, when I see an injector or anyone, I was like, I want this. And
so that is a really good call out when you're asking about injectors, because they should say no. And really like what's happening when you see these people that look off, one, they could possibly be dictating their own treatment plan. And does a patient need to dictate their own treatment plan? No, it's collaborative.
Right.
It's like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I don't like. But I see a lot of times someone's coming in and they're like, I want my lips done. And they're like, okay. But it's like, well, actually, hold on. You've got a lot of volume loss, or you've got some areas that we need to treat first. And so really you have to approach it like the whole face. So when you're saying facial balancing, the lips are an area to treat, but it's typically like one of the last areas to treat, because it's like putting paint on windows. If you put paint on windows before the house is done, like what do you think that's going to look like? It's going to be like, that's kind of weird. You need to build your foundation, and your face is like, so your bony structure is your foundation. Your tissues are on top of that, your fat, muscle, whatever. And so when you have volume loss here, as typically people do, and changes, age-related changes, it's going to cause like different areas to shift. And if you don't replace and restore some of that structure, putting it on the lips is actually going to draw more attention to the fact that you got your lips done. So it's all a process.
Yes.
But
I love that.
yeah, it's like all approaching the face. And that's really like, that's how I approach skin too. Like, sure, you can get all these treatments done, skincare, you can get peels and lasers and microneedling. Great. That's awesome. But if you don't have a solid foundation, then your skin is not optimally functioning. Your skin is not healthy. And so you have to have that solid foundation. Otherwise, it's like you're targeting different concerns that you potentially have, but you're not going to ever fully see the result. And then what are you going to think? Skincare doesn't work. You're going to be like, oh, this doesn't work because I'm only pulling out one concern without having my skin functioning optimally.
I wonder if there are any values that you carried into Barefaced from your time working at like a plastic surgeon office. Like how, because you mentioned you saw thousands and thousands of people that you treated. Anything that you picked up that people are like putting out there, certain beliefs, certain like values about beauty, of just the idea of beauty that you wanted to shift when you started building the brand?
Okay, yes. One is that like aging is such a gift. The concept of like we should be afraid of age. Like what's the alternative? Death?
So like you get filled until you explode.
Or I mean, like what's the alternative of aging? Like I feel like we have this like negative connotation of like I'm getting older. It's like, no, actually that can be really empowering. And so instead of viewing that in a negative way, like changing your perspective of like, hey, like actually aging is like the ultimate gift because you get to, you know, keep being alive. So many women, especially because in that industry, you're seeing 95% women. So many women come in and they're like ashamed of their age. And it's like, well, I mean, again, what is the alternative? You are dead. So like, don't you like, let's reframe the narrative. Like aging is such a gift, but also we can look and feel our best, like whether it's from injectables, whether it's from skincare, whether it's from just like taking care of your body as a whole. Like I want to feel my best from not just how I look, but like actually feeling and like mentally feel my best. So there's so much out there. Like, and it's somewhere along the lines, like in probably every industry, but especially skincare, especially aesthetics, it's like been more is more. And so I don't like that. Like I want to like, that is something that I want to change and like less but better. You just need to do a handful of things and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can just be like you can do a handful of things to take care of your skin every single day and then you just go and live in life. You don't have it doesn't have to be this like big thing that you have to think about. Like let an expert that you trust think about it for you, help you and like collaborate with you to make your skincare plan or to make your aesthetic plan if you want to do injectables or surgery or whatever. It just doesn't have to be more is more.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at, and especially with like the social media landscape. Because it's a lie. Like no one's skin is perfect. Okay, so I've been acne prone my whole life. I got a breakout right now. That is a part of life. And so to have this expectation that you're never going to break out again and like that you need to change your skincare or change something, it's like, that's like saying you're never going to have a headache again. Yeah. I mean like what? So it's okay. There's certain treatments that you want to do like skin resurfacing with a laser or microneedling. So when you think about a treatment like that, or even like using your retinoid, all of those things are intended to boost collagen production and boost your cellular turnover, which you need as you age because it slows down. And so, but what that's doing is when you get these treatments, it's causing little micro holes into the tissue. So that's damage to the skin. So it's triggering an inflammatory response and it's causing new cells to grow up through those tiny little micro channels. So think about like aerating a lawn. Right. It's doing that to your face, right? And so that's great. But if you do that kind of stuff too frequently, you're actually causing too much inflammation to the skin. A lot of times you're seeing skin issues because you have chronic inflammation in the body that's like coming out in your skin. I love retinoids, but the best retinoid for your skin is the one that you can tolerate consistently. And a lot of times people want to use the strongest product. Yeah. Well, the strongest product isn't the best product for you if you're consistently peeling and dry. That's low grade inflammation on your skin, and inflammation causes accelerated aging, and like from the inside and from the out. And so I would say from a treatment standpoint, if you're just getting like hydrating treatments, great, you know, like whatever. But if you're getting constantly like resurfacing, whether it's like needling or lasers, that's going to cause more damage than not. So that's one thing. If you're hopping around practices, they might not know everything that you're doing. There's a lot of these treatments that I see people doing. Skin tightening non-surgically is not really happening. It's a very expensive treatment. There's a handful, whether they use ultrasound technology, whether they use radio frequency. There's a handful of different ones. I would just be very wary of like what a non-invasive skin tightening device can actually do. Now there's some that are needling devices that sure, they can improve skin quality, but they're not going to tighten the skin. And what you're seeing is like there's laxity that starts to happen, as it should, because of the age. And so you start to lose volume here. And this is where women are really bothered, right in this like jowling area. I mean, I'm starting to see it now. I'm 37. And I'm like, you just start to notice it. You start to see this like little downward turn, and that's just going to get more intensified with age because that's just the natural aging process. I wouldn't be like, oh, I need to get a facelift right now, right? Because I'm like not due for a facelift. Oh, maybe I am.
But it is, no, I'm not stopping you to be like, yes, you are. But that's something that I've seen happening. First of all, I saw this doctor on TikTok and I saved it because he said, be wary of what you just said, the radio frequency,
microneedling,
all these things. He actually says the same thing you're saying, which it's so interesting because I haven't seen that opinion before. I love that you're mentioning it because I think it's the same.
Thousands of dollars. Yeah,
exactly.
But like for someone like me who's like, okay, I'm just seeing the beginning signs. I can see if I didn't know what was going on, I would like go in and be like, what can I do? At this time, surgery is all you can do for that. So that's a limitation of where we're at, but that's okay. Like save yourself the money. Don't invest in these treatments with the expectation they're going to like pull back your skin. And they can also eat up your fat. That's a big problem. So that's where these treatments, they're like, whether they're ultrasound technology, whether they're radio frequency microneedling, they can eat up your fat and you can't get that back. If you're a heavier person as you age, you look more youthful.
Yes.
If you're skinnier, even if you look like a marathon runner who's just like so thin, and then as we age, like women, we're going to lose fat in our faces anyways. And it's like, you just start to look like gaunt a little bit. We need to save all of our fat.
Yeah. So like that's my biggest concern because I am naturally skinny. I know that I have very thin skin. So for me, I haven't done any lasers or anything yet because it scares me with the whole fat thing. So actually that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. Again, a lot of great lasers out there like the BBL Moxie, especially here in Miami. I feel like a lot of us do it to, clear the skin from all the sunspots and everything. But how and when do you recommend women to even go for those kind of treatments? Because that's also, is that heat? It's heat on your skin?
Some of them are, yes.
Like that's how I'm so unaware.
Do you have melasma?
Not that I know of.
Okay. No, that's just good to know. Okay. So here's what I do. So this is a very common question. This is how I approach all aesthetic treatments. And like, again, it's not just the treatment itself. So first, skincare. It's always your foundation. 80% of your results come from your your daily routine. 20% of your results come from your aesthetic treatments that you're going to get in office. So you always start with a skincare routine that's kind of created to prevent, protect, repair, and correct. So when I was talking about the foundation products earlier, it's something that I call the core 4. So it's a vitamin C, a retinoid, an SPF, and an exfoliant. Those are like the core 4 of your routine. Now, sure, if you want to add on other products or if you have additional concerns, great, add more products. Like, of course, you're going to need a cleanser and moisturizer, but I'm talking about things that are transforming the skin, that are keeping the skin functioning optimally. And so you start there always, and then you're going to add to your routine from there. So if anyone's coming in, if they were coming to see me and like, hey, I want to target some pigment, or I'm noticing some more fine lines, whatever. First, we're starting them on a skincare routine. The skin cell cycle is around 6 weeks. So I start them on that for at least 8 weeks. So you don't just jump into the treatment because you want your skin to be functioning optimally. So you're going to get a better result if your skin's like moving and grooving. So then you're on your routine, you get your treatment. Now, what I would say is my typical rule of thumb of like what kind of treatment you should get. If you're 35 and under, you're going to benefit from a collagen boost because we start losing 1% of collagen every year starting at age 20. So I think 30 is a great time. If that's something that you're like able to invest in, sure, get a microneedling treatment. Microneedling is less invasive. There's no heat with that. And
how often?
You could do 3 treatments 1 month apart, and you could do once every 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now if you have like acne scarring or something like that, that's targeting something different than like anti-aging. So you maybe use like an additional treatment to really get into those acne scars, or use like, there's something called subcision where you can go in and like break up some of that scarring. But if you're doing it for anti-aging, 3 treatments, 1 month apart, once every 2 years, great. That's going to give you like a really good collagen boost. I love to like pair that with a PRP where they draw your blood, spin it, and they put your platelet-rich plasma on top. It's just like
But don't inject it.
You can inject it. Yeah. PRP.
Okay.
Yeah. It's different. It's different than injectable. So it's really nice under the eyes. There's also PRFM. I don't know how granular we want to get here, but
no, that's all that I literally have it all in my notes. I'm like, I don't know what it means. All these letters.
All these letters. Okay, there's all these different things. PRP is like more liquidy. So it's like you draw your blood, spin it. Have you ever had? You've never had it?
No, I never had anything.
So and you see it. It's like kind of goldy. It's a gold color. It's platelet-rich plasma. It's great to put on the face. It helps with healing. It's hard.
And that's great to do with microneedling.
Yes, because you're creating these little micro channels, and it's like eating it all. So then the PRFM, same concept. You're drawing it, spinning it, but it's turning into more of like a jelly type texture. So that you can inject PRP, it's fine. But PRFM is really nice to inject because it's kind of like chilling there for a little bit. So you inject it, and because of its jelly-like consistency, it's sitting in the skin longer. And what it's telling the skin to do and the body to do is respond. And that's what's happening. So especially around the eye area, you're going to see the first signs of aging. It's some of the thinnest skin on the body. And so I know it's a dead giveaway. Like you can see someone and it's like the eyes give away the age because they're so thin. And so there's just various things that you can do to support and thicken that skin. And that's why I love using a retinoid around the eye, because you need to be like thickening and improving the skin quality. And then you pair that with like a couple office treatments. The eye area is tricky, but you can definitely improve the way it looks. To answer your question, so 35 and under, I think microneedling with PRP is a great option.
Before you continue, sorry, with the microneedling, because I know that, let's say, where I go to do my microneedling, she did one microneedling session that was deeper. Yes. I've only done it once. But then I heard that one can be also tricky for people with very thin skin because it can...
Oh, get too deep.
Yeah, and you can lose fat. Is that
What's
true?
What's making you say that you think you have thin skin?
I don't know. Is it are you gonna bust my whole, like, I've been building on top of this like thin skin theory.
But like, why? I want to know why you say that.
Well, just because and I guess I'm also comparing to my mom. My mom has like thick skin, like you can tell it. She's always like shiny and plump. And mine, if I'm dehydrated or like, it shows right away.
Shows
like,
what? Shows dryness or
dryness?
Shows red?
It like feels dull. It kind of feels like it falls down, you know?
I don't think you have thick skin. I mean, thin skin. I think you probably maybe have dehydrated skin.
Okay.
And I think, have you ever done the pinch test on your eye?
No.
This is, like I said, some of the thinnest skin on the body. So there's a pinch test you can do because a lot of people are struggling or troubled by their dark circles. And so it's a good way to determine, like, is your skin thin, or do you have like, is your skin actually pigmented? So the pinch test is this. You pinch the eye area. It's my least favorite thing to do. I try to be so gentle with this area, but you pinch it up and you see, okay, so when I pinch it up, am I seeing the darkness on the skin? Or when I let it go, do I then see am I only seeing the darkness like when the skin's flat? And it tells you basically like the root of the dark circle, but it would also tell you like how thin your skin is.
So if I see the whole thing dark, then what does it mean?
So if you see it the whole thing dark, it could be like that the skin is thin and it's showing the muscle and the vascularity under. So if that's the case from a skincare perspective, I would say, okay, you need to focus on thickening the skin. You can do that with retinoids from skincare. And then if you pull it up and it's a pigment issue, like you're actually seeing the dark skin still, that's more of like you want to be lightening that area. So you're wanting to use like an L-ascorbic acid, vitamin C to help like lighten and treat that area. You can't really go wrong with vitamin C's or retinoids around the eyes as long as you're using them properly. But like, I don't think you have thin skin. I think there's...
Well, now I don't know, so you tell me.
Yeah, I think it sounds more of like a dehydration issue of like skin. And you probably, I don't know how often you're exfoliating, but the key with like seeing that glow that everyone wants with their skin is like the balance between exfoliation and hydration. Just hydration alone is not going to do enough. But a lot of people think, okay, my skin's so dry, I need to like load on the hydration. But really, you need to exfoliate. You need to get the dead skin cells off so then the skincare products can penetrate. And so it's like the balance of exfoliation, hydration to see that glow, because those examples that you just said, that sounds like more of a dehydration, exfoliation, hydration issue.
Okay. Great.
I think actually your skin is really good. Like
my skin now looks good for sure. But you see, with it's this whole like treatments that are available where now I'm 34, I'm going to be 35 in September. I feel like I started late with everything and I'm good with that. Yeah. But I'm just like, am I missing something? Like I also want to age gracefully. Is there any way I can support? Am I not doing things I need to do? Let's talk about foundation, because obviously there are limitless amounts, and we're going to go back because I do have a few treatments I want to hear about from you. But I do want to talk about the foundation because that's something that, to your point, everyone should have. Yep. I love the fact that when a client comes in, you start with the foundation for 6
People
weeks.
don't like it either. They're like, but I want the extreme thing.
Well, we want immediate gratification. So we like do a laser and I'm like going to feel like I've done something, you know?
You're like, yeah, I want the instant gratification. But it's like, no, I want you to have like the long-term results.
Okay, so talk to me about the retinoid, the vitamin C, when to start, how to start, and how to use it properly. Also, again, speaking of a very saturated market, how do we know which products are good for us?
if you're 25 and under and you do not have acne, I think you're okay to not start a retinoid. Now, if you do have acne and you do have breakouts, I would definitely include a retinoid in your routine. When I think about building out a foundation, to me, those are the products I would recommend investing in, because you know they're transformative to your skin and you know that they're going to be like actually working on the skin. They're not just like cleansing the skin. Again, cleanser and moisturizer are very important, but you like, if you're building out, like start with the most important things. So your retinoid is something that you use at night. And like I was saying earlier, the best retinoid for your skin is the one that you can tolerate every day. All the studies that have been done on retinoids, they test them used every single day. And so I see a lot of different things about like skin cycling, use your retinoid once a week. Well, it's like, well, then you're not using the right retinoid for your skin if you can't tolerate it every single day. So you just cut back.
Do you not pause? Do you take breaks from retinoids just to kind of give your skin a minute or like even, improve its effectiveness? Or do you just continuously do it?
No, not with retinoids.
Okay.
I recommend that's something that you can continue using. You don't need to take breaks.
Okay.
There is a myth that retinoids cause thinning of the skin. That is not true. So there's different layers of the skin. There's the epidermis and the dermis. They actually thicken the dermis. So for my thin skin girly, you want to have a thick dermis, and that starts to shrink as we get older. And so you might have a thinner epidermal layer, which is your top layer, but it's thickening the dermis. So there's like a misunderstanding with like how retinoids affect the skin. They do not thin the skin. They thicken the most important part of the skin, which is the dermal layer. So with your retinoid, you want to use it at night. You want to be able to use it every single night. I believe in putting it full face, under eye. You do want to put an eye cream on prior, because you never want retinoids to migrate into the eye. But because the eye is just a problematic area, you want to be boosting collagen and like improving that skin quality. And then you want to bring it down to your neck and chest. Now, that's like, I would say you could start a retinoids, 25 to 28. That's like a great time to start it. And then your vitamin C is your protector and preventer. So it's definitely used in the morning. So it boosts your efficacy of your SPF. It's kind of like a little fighter. Think of something that's like has a little fighter of your skin, a free radical damage, pollution, everything that you're exposed to. It's your antioxidant that's going to give you your skin a lot of support. So I think about it during the day as protecting and preventing and boosting the efficacy of that sunscreen. A lot of people only use vitamin C in the morning, but really, if you can use vitamin C and tolerate it twice daily, it helps boost your collagen production at night. So we need a full vitamin C reservoir. Okay, so we've got our waters.
I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, I know. So vitamin C. So think about this as vitamin C.
Okay.
So your skin is repairing and correcting at night. So beauty sleep is real. It's important to get sleep. So you want your skin to have everything it needs to be able to repair and correct. So it needs to be like, oh, I need some vitamin C to build some collagen. Okay, my skin, it's like, it needs to be able to like drink from this little reservoir. And so having it a full like reservoir of vitamin C every night, that way your skin has everything it needs. I want my body to produce as much collagen as it wants to produce.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that this is a full cup of vitamin C every single night. And if you look at the tissue analysis of like a vitamin C, it can stay in the skin up to 72 hours, but it's at its peak efficacy at 8. So if you're not reapplying it at night, you're potentially missing out on your collagen production. Now, sure, if you want to save it, and maybe this is just a good realm of thought for 30 plus, where we really need, but again, you're losing collagen production every year after 20. So that's why like the twice daily usage is really going to help you out, because it's doing different things. And during the day, we're exposed to, even just like in front of a computer all day, like these lights, like we're exposed to so much stuff that like you might not even have that much vitamin C left, depending on what your skin is exposed to, especially living in Miami. Like there's so much more sun.
Oh my God. Okay. This just blew my mind. I love it. Okay. Definitely adapting to it right away. Okay. So double vitamin C, morning and night, and then the retinoid at night.
Yep.
I heard, and I'm curious to hear your thought, with retinoids, you need to put it on a dry face.
You can. So if you have more sensitive skin, so think about a sponge, a damp sponge, and if you put something on it, it's going to absorb. If you put something on a dry sponge, it'll kind of more sit at the surface. This can apply to all skincare, not just retinoids. If you have more sensitive skin, or if you're just starting a product and there are anticipated reactions that happen with skincare. Anticipated is we want that to happen because you want to see some change in the skin. Adverse is more like you have a rash on your whole face. Okay, stop what you're doing. Anticipated is like, okay, my skin's a little dry and flaky. I just started this product. It shouldn't last, but it's like anticipated as you get started, or it's expected as you get started. So with the retinoid, if you are just like, I just know I have sensitive and reactive skin. I just, everything, like So sure, apply your product, or I would say that with a vitamin C too. Apply it to dry skin because the absorption isn't going to be as much. And so it's just going to be like easing you into using that product. But if you want increased efficacy, it is ideal to apply it to damp skin.
This is the best thing I've heard because I try to do this whole dry skin. I actually stopped using retinoids because I'm like, okay, so if I don't put it on dry skin, then it's not working. And for me to get my skin to dry at night, it's like, first of all, the feeling of dry skin, like I can't, disgusting. So I literally stopped using retinoids because of it. So you're telling me that I can put it.
You're back, girl.
I'm back with a double C vitamin. Oh my God.
C. So yeah, I would say if your skin can tolerate it, it's ideal to use it on damp skin. And then with retinoids and vitamin C, this is something that a lot of people think that you can't use together. So they're like, you can't use a vitamin C and a retinoid together. That's not true. The reason why that's said is because it can cause irritation to the skin. So again, like get your skin used to vitamin C, then consider pairing it and like using it at night along with your retinoid. That's the only reason why. It's not like any less efficacious, but like it's actually really great and they actually work really well together. But again, it goes back to like what your skin can tolerate. So if your skin can hardly tolerate a retinoid, then just get that going.
Yeah.
Get that going first. And so,
Okay. So the core products, we mentioned the vitamin C, the retinoids. What are the other two?
SPF.
Standard. Okay.
Yeah. And then the exfoliant.
Okay. So SPF, can you get enough SPF from makeup that has SPF?
This question. I have done a face. So I have this UV camera and I've done this test where I've done a makeup SPF, like split face, makeup SPF versus regular SPF. And you have to use a teaspoon of and 2 finger lengths of SPF to get proper and sufficient coverage. Now that's of a actual sunscreen. Now, if you're using makeup to get that same equivalent, it's like 17 pumps. Are you going to put that much makeup on your face? You know, like you would look absurd. Wow. And so to get the sufficient coverage, like makeup in your sunscreen to me is an added bonus. It doesn't replace. And I did this split face on the camera and you can tell the one where the SPF is, the face, how it looks is like black almost. And then with the makeup, it's like a light tan. And so it shows you where you're protected, where you're not. So I think that's great. That's great that makeup has sunscreen.
It's like an added bonus, but not
your replacement.
Right.
Yep.
And how often, because something that I struggle with is the reapplication. I know that you have to reapply. It is
not fun.
I honestly, no, I never do it unless I'm on on the beach.
Me neither.
So how do you navigate that?
I just don't. I mean, I agree. Like it's like, that's just something, if I'm on the beach, if I'm having a pool day, beach day, boat day, whatever, sure, I'm going to reapply. But if I'm just like going through the day, I'm not reapplying. And I don't know if that's great advice.
What about the SPF powders?
I used to like them, but after further research on them, there's just no way they're providing the protection. You would have to apply such a thick amount. Sure, is it like, could it be supplemental? And like, sure, could it help? But you would have to apply such a thick amount that you would look like a powder face.
Right. Okay.
So
you're saving us money. I love it.
Yeah, save it. Don't buy the $4,000 treatments. I know. And in skincare, like that's why these like little investments are like, okay, yeah, this is an investment, but like you don't actually, and too, if you invest in your skin now, think about all the money you're going to save later on from all these additional treatments that you would have to do because prevention is so much more affordable than correction.
Yes.
And so much more effective.
Yes.
Like prevention, so, but yeah, I would say the powder sunscreens, and for some reason they're extremely expensive. It feels
extremely.
Yeah. And it's just like, no, they're just, I wouldn't waste.
Okay, let's go into exfoliation.
Okay.
I am very wary of it. I have probably 5 different exfoliations on my counter.
Okay.
And I use maybe one. I found one that I like, but I use it once a week. Because again, my theory is that I have thin, sensitive skin.
Right.
And I'm being very careful with it.
Okay.
How do we know which exfoliant works for our skin type and how often should we use it?
So it is skin type specific, I would say. So someone who has more like oily skin is going to potentially, and it also depends on the percentages. So
percentages of what?
The acids in the exfoliant.
Okay.
I know. So how do you know? Okay. So here's what I would do. You don't need to use a high percentage exfoliant daily by any means. However, if you're like a man and you do have thicker skin, you probably could tolerate it. The way I would think about it first before we like break down how often to use them is like, so they're going in and you're using a blend of acids. Let me talk about our toning pads because this is like,
I wanted to ask about those because I love those, but I don't know if it's too harsh for me.
you're using the orange, the little like peach.
yeah.
Okay, so we formulated these to be something that could be used every single day for the majority of skin types. Some people are more sensitive. They could use them 3 times a week. This is more of like where I always say, listen to your skin. And I've stopped saying it as much because people are like, well, what does that mean?
What does it say?
Yeah. So they want like really clear instruction. And I get that because like, if I'm trying to take care of like a house plant, like I want you to tell me you water it twice a day.
Yeah.
You know, you do this. Like, I'm not going to like, what do you mean? Look at my plant and see when to water it. Like, I don't know what that means. So I would say, so toning pads, we just actually got an updated clinical study done of this. And what was really cool, so they're exfoliants, but they're very gentle. That's why like it's not your one that you would use like your deeper exfoliation that you could use on a weekly basis. So they are intended, so they have acids like AHAs, which would be like a glycolic. We have lactic acid, salicylic acid, but we also have ingredients like chamomile, aloe that are calming and soothing. And so there's like hydrating and calming and soothing properties as well as exfoliating. So dead skin cells are like stuck and they're breaking up those bonds. And so that way that's how they give you such a nice glow, is because they're breaking up those bonds of dead skin cells, breaking them apart, and then you're seeing your fresh skin underneath. But what they're also doing is they're like washing out your pores. And so think about like skin that feels congested when you have this, it's not acne, but it's like congestion. Does that make sense? Congestion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so all of that is just like clogged pores, and it's not true acne. A lot of people probably think they have acne if they have the skin congestion, but that's like a telltale sign that you need to be exfoliating if you're having a lot of this congestion, because that means everything's just sitting there. And so I recommend from a toning pad perspective, because they're so gentle, and we did our clinical evaluation on daily use, but I always say start with 3 times a week. Okay. Now, this is of a low percentage acids. So if you're just a consumer, before getting like a strong exfoliant, I saw this a ton in 2020 on TikTok. It was like this one exfoliant that people were overdoing and their skin was just getting destroyed. And at first it was like, oh my gosh, my skin's so glowy. And then, do that every day and you're going to destroy your skin. I have really wanted Barefaced to be a guide for people, because ultimately it's like, okay, what did you just say? You said to use the low acids and then the high acids. Like, how can you remember that? You don't have to. And so I really wanted to bring in the hand holding and like the guide of what I did for patients in office. And so the team that I built out was skincare specialists. If you're listening to this and you're like, what in the world is she talking about? That's fine. You don't need to know all this. Just send us an email, send us a picture of your skin, and we'll be like, hey, I think this will work for you, XYZ, and we'll do like a little consult. We have like an AI skin quiz that does it too, that gives you like a skin analysis, because otherwise,
I obviously need to do that.
Yeah. So otherwise, yeah, you got thin skin. You're like, I don't know what's going on. But otherwise you're like kind of like, it's the Wild West, and you're like, okay, so I test this. I would be wary of just pulling an exfoliant without using any guidance, because that's when you start to disrupt the skin barrier, and then you go into repair mode. That means you have to stop all your products and like reset, and then you're causing inflammation. It's just like a spiral. So with our toning pads, and that's just because there's so many acids we could choose from, that's just an easy one for me to explain. I would say start them 3 times a week. And if your skin feels normal, you do that for a month. If your skin feels normal, build in a day. Add in another day. And if your skin feels dry, like in the winter, just stick with 3 times a week. This is where it's like, more is not always more. Yeah. Less can still be better. But there is, if you're using them specifically, like you can tolerate them more than, like you should be able to tolerate them more than like once a week.
I didn't have any reactions. Yeah. Like it felt great. I just, again, I have this constant fear of like, am I doing damage by doing too much? Right. So, and
but
are
I
there
think that's a good fear.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I think my older self will thank me for being so cautious. But I do always doubt myself when it comes to skincare. In terms of exfoliants, anything we should avoid, because I do, and I've tried a couple that just feels like sandpaper on your skin. And it blows my mind that people use it and use it often. I don't know if it's good or bad, or again, my own projection.
I love hearing how people think about skincare, because it also helps me become a better educator. Like when I'm listening to you say like, I doubt myself, I think a lot of people do that, honestly, as they should. Why would you're like, I don't know, just testing this out. Okay, exfoliants. There's chemical and physical. So what you're talking about with like the sandpaper is physical. I actually don't like physical exfoliants at all. I think there's just too much room for error. And they're also not as effective. Physical exfoliant is where you feel that like gritty texture, sandy texture. You've probably heard of like those walnuts kind of scrubs that can be like rougher on the skin. And yeah, you're exactly right. And I don't think there's the level of understanding of like, how much pressure should I put on here? So there's just too much room for disrupting and irritating the skin. So in my professional opinion, I would just say, don't use them. They're fine on the body. The body is so much more resilient, and they're great. Like they're great to use on the body. Sometimes that gritty texture is fine, but on the face and like the neck and chest, I always prefer a chemical exfoliant. And again, like going back to that, breaking apart those like dead skin cells, they're able to like gently kind of dissolve those like dead skin cells that are stuck. And then they also drive deeper into the skin so they can wash out the pores. So they can really like work on the skin. So they're just more effective. So I think a chemical exfoliant trumps a physical exfoliant every time.
Okay, amazing. So we have a very clear kind of 4 products that we need to think about when we're building our skincare longevity plan.
And then from there, you're like, okay, now I want to further address dark spots. Great. Get an additional product for that. But you're not going to see the results if you just buy a dark spot serum and you're not using the foundation.
You see, no one talks about it. It's so simple. It's truly, it blows my mind.
It really is simple. Yeah, it really is. My goal too is to like simplify it. And I heard something somewhere. It was like, if you can't explain something to a kindergartner, then you don't like,
you're doing it wrong.
You don't know well enough. Or like, it's like, it should be so simple that you can just like regurgitate, okay, just use this start from there, build from there. So when I started Barefaced, my vision was like, okay, this is a solution for my patients. This is I see these people, I'm walking them through, like, I know this is a solution for them. This is going to simplify their lives, give them results. And so it was the uninformed optimist that like, I didn't ever imagine it would be like what it is today, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Like it, so I would just stay true to self, and we're completely bootstrapped, self-funded. I don't have to answer to anyone besides my customer.
Yeah.
And so I know that we're offering like the best thing for our customer. And something that I think is a testament to that is we have a 90% returning customer rate. And like the industry standard is like 25%.
Amazing.
And I think it's just because we're just, one, if you don't need it, we're not going to recommend it. We have people reach out all the time about, okay, I'm like using this product. It's not even our product. And we're like, okay, this is how you can integrate it. Or like, we would recommend, maybe you need a prescription. Like, I think we're just very, with the team of skincare specialists, they're very knowledgeable about skincare too. And so they're kind of guiding our customers through their journey. And so we're really like a resource for them in all aspects of skincare, not just like buy our brand, do what we have to do.
Okay, I want to tell you about a little journey that I went on this year. It's my no Botox journey.
Yep.
It was interesting. No, I got my Botox done like last week because I was like, okay, the journey's over.
Oh my gosh,
it's been it was a year.
Okay.
The reason why I started it was initially because I felt that I forgot how my real face looks like. And I done Botox maybe 3 times, right? It wasn't like I was abusing it. I was doing it once a year, very conservatively, but I still felt like, first of all, I wanted to get more. And the second thing is I'm like, to your point, you know, how you lose the sight of your own real face. That's where I felt like I was getting to. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get used to, you know, everything and go with it. And it was wonderful. And then I was like, okay, cool. It was a great experiment. And now we go back.
Wait, why did you want to come back? Because you were seeing fine lines?
Yeah, because I just felt like, I don't know, for what? There's so many things I need to worry about. And like, yeah, things started bothering me. And I have a finite brain capacity and I just don't want to think about it, I guess. Yeah. And I try to get into like massage, because another thing, there's a lot of great natural things that you can do at home, like massages, gua sha, like so many wonderful things, face taping.
Right.
I've done all of it, but it felt to me like just more things that I need to do.
Totally.
And it's so difficult as it is. And my main goal was to have a calm nervous system this year. So I was like, okay, this does not benefit the bigger goal.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to get Botox. Do you have any reservation, any concerns? Like
with Botox?
Yeah, opinions about Botox?
I feel totally fine getting Botox. I mean, like, and I feel like I wouldn't be in this space. Like, I think it's totally fine. Is something going to come out in 20 years? I mean, who knows? You know, I don't know. At this time, I feel totally fine getting it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, I can be high maintenance to be low maintenance every day. I like to test different stuff just to give a professional like point of view on it. And so I have like a microcurrent device and like, I can hardly do all this stuff. Again, that's why less but better. It's like, at least I know my skincare is on lock. I've got my like core things, my skin's functioning optimally. And if I do extra stuff on top of that, if it just happens to work that day, great. But it's just not realistic. Even if it's just 5 minutes, it's too long. And honestly, you have to do it. And I think facial sculpting and facial massage is actually like really great. But it does need to be done daily. So for me, it's like, I like doing it. It's relaxing. If you have like any clenching of the jaw, like it is relaxing. And I think it's good to get those. I mean, we're really tense in our face. To me, when you're saying like calm your nervous system, to me, Botox calms me down. It just like chills me out, which is a funny like secondary side effect. But facial massage, gua sha, face taping, that is great and fine, but nothing does what like a neuromodulator like a Botox or any of the brands. Nothing does what that does. There's no skincare that does that. There's nothing that does that, because it's relaxing the muscle under the skin. And that's why Botox and skincare like really do really well together, because even if you're using good skincare, sure, you might see a little bit of like fine lines that resolve, but if they're lines of expression, forehead, in between the brows, crow's feet, like that's the muscle underneath causing constant crunching. So it's like, I mean, yes, skincare is doing the best it can, but if you're constantly crunching that area throughout the day, or whether it's while you're sleeping, like it can only do so much. Yeah. Face taping and then like silicone strips have potential, especially during sleep. So I am a side sleeper. I've tried to sleep on my back for as long as I can remember, because I mean, what you're doing is you're just crunching your face. So occasionally it's a little annoying because it kind of wakes me up and then I pull it off. But I'll wake up, and I'll have sleep lines. Well, Botox is not going to treat a sleep line. And if you're constantly doing that, 20 years sleeping like that, you're going to have a line. I can pretty much always tell if someone's a side sleeper too, because they'll have a line right here.
Interesting.
And so anyways, if I will sometimes sleep with a silicone strip, but some people don't, they're really expressionate while they sleep. So if you wake up in the morning and you notice like a line in between your brows or lines in your forehead, sleeping with a silicone strip can be really nice, because you're just preventing that movement from happening at night. That's when I think it can be really beneficial. But if you're just using it, to soften the lines like throughout the day, and you're just making these expressions like normal people do, like you're not going to have, it's not really going to do much. So Botox is still like, it's still a gold standard.
So for the girls that are doing it every 3 to 4 months, that kind of frequency, that depends on your skin, or could it be that where it doesn't last or like binds enough that it runs?
Botox, all of the studies show 3-month longevity. Okay. So what's happening is you're getting the injection. It takes about 7 to 10 days for the onset, and then it starts to peak at around 8 weeks. Then it starts to wear off. This is where people get kind of troubled, because they're like, no, it has a 3-month duration. Well, sure, it does, but it's not going to be like frozen or whatever it is. It's not going to be the exact strength for the whole 3 months. So it starts to wean off after like that 8 weeks. So you might start to see like a little bit more movement. That's actually very normal. But what happens is people get used to their face smooth, and they want more. The only time I ever have broken this rule is if someone's getting married, but you do not want to get into a cadence of getting Botox more than every 12 weeks. Really, you could push that probably out a little bit further, but that's where you start to risk muscle atrophy, thinning of the muscles. And so these neurotransmitters are causing muscle activation. And so they're being blocked by Botox. So it's like they're blocking the muscle activation. And so that's why you're not able to fully animate. So then the muscles are smart. They create new ones. So then it's like, okay, bye. And then that takes about 3 months to do. And then that's why the muscle movement comes back. Great. So you want to be waiting until the muscle movement is fully back. And that's at least 12 weeks. So for you, you don't have any static lines. Now for someone who's 65, it's a different story. They have lines that are stuck. Yeah. That's going to be a little bit more challenging. They're definitely going to probably need to be treated every 3 months, because those lines are set in. Whereas you are more doing it from a prevention standpoint, skin smoothing. You might like a little like lift that you get from the eyes. You could probably push out to once a year, once every 6 months, once every 4 months. Yeah. I've been getting Botox since I was 24. So I get it probably once every 6 months.
Okay. That's a good cadence.
Yeah. And you want your muscle movement all the way back. People want to go back before because they're bothered by it not being fully effective.
No, I'm telling you, it's so psychological. And that's something that I've also realized. Like we all have a face dysmorphia. Yeah. Truly. I have a couple of true or false that I want from you, because I won't be able to sleep at night unless I get straight up answers. Okay. So SPF is higher percentage, or what do you call it? Like higher SPF is better.
True. But up to a certain point. After 50, it doesn't really matter.
After 50. Okay. I feel like I heard 30. Okay, 50.
Yeah, there's a like 1% difference between 30 and 50, but I just like 50 is like the sweet spot.
Okay, good to know. And is tan skin, is that skin?
Is what?
Is tan skin?
Thin
that
skin?
Tan?
Thin?
TAN? Tan.
Oh, tan.
Yeah, tan.
Oh.
Is tan skin?
I got you.
Skin?
I'm like, oh, country girl. Is tan skin that skin? Tan skin is damaged skin.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily dead, but it's damaged skin. So if you're seeing someone with a tan, they have DNA damage on their skin. So this tan is fake, but I love the sun.
But you see, I'm always conflicted because
I know.
fake skin, fake tan, I'm putting on, and I'm getting all this shit getting absorbed into my bloodstream.
I know.
So like,
I know.
You can't win.
I know.
Have you seen those like morning shed
Yes.
videos?
Yes.
How insane is that?
I think there's the only components. I actually made a TikTok about this because they're insane. Do you think there's benefit on sleeping with a silk pillowcase?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
I think mouth tape can be beneficial if you're a mouth breather for sure, because form follows function. And if you're only breathing out of your mouth all the time, you're going to have a recessed chin. Your brain's not getting enough oxygen. So like mouth breathing is a huge problem. I honestly should probably sleep in one of those silk things because my hair is like so frizzy.
That looks, looks like a good, but
but
then,
and you know what else? I think an eye mask can be helpful if you have dry eye or if you're just like triggered by light. So I've had LASIK when I was 21 and I just have extremely dry eyes. And so when I wear an eye mask, it almost like, because I sleep with a fan on, it makes it so my eyes aren't as dry when I wake up in the morning.
Okay. So you would benefit from it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you to know.
Yeah.
Is there any like best fillers? Is there fillers now that are more
I love this
favored?
question. There's a brand or a type of filler called a Vicross filler. Hyaluronic acid based fillers, which are the most common. So hyaluronic acid is a naturally occurring substance in our body. Great. What they found is that if they create all these cross links, they can make it so it sits in the skin longer and stays. Because if we were just going to inject like hyaluronic acid, it would just dissolve in like 3 to 5 days. And no one's going to get an injectable that lasts 3 to 5 days. But what fillers and the hyaluronic acid fillers have done is they sit in the area. So like, you inject them, they sit in the area. Great. So there's different ways of cross-linking, and the more complex it is, the longer it lasts. Well, that sounds really nice because you're like, oh, great, I only have to get this filler, once every 2 years or whatever. But the problem is that the Vicross technology is just like, the cross-linking is very challenging. So if you need to dissolve it, it is like very hard to get rid of. And so while it's hyaluronic acid and while you can use a Hylenex to target it, I had a Vicross filler done probably 10 years ago, right near it's called a nasolabial fold. It migrated, and so I was trying to dissolve it. Dissolved it 3 different times. It like will not go away. And it's like at that point, you're also dissolving a little bit of your own natural hyaluronic acid when you're using these dissolvers. You don't want to really rely on them, but you want to have them in your back pocket if you have like a bad result. So I do not like Vicross fillers at all. You can Google what brands carry them because I don't answer to anyone.
You tell them.
Yeah. I do like fillers that boost collagen production for sure. Like the Sculptra.
Yeah, there's a couple of few that I heard, but yeah, Sculptra I hear the most. And then I started hearing a lot of bad talk about Morpheus 8. Yeah? Okay. That's your comment.
I think it does a good job at skin thickening. I think the marketing is the issue with Morpheus.
Oh.
Because it's claimed to be a skin tightener. But I think it does a decent job at skin thickening. Kind of what we were saying earlier. It's a non-invasive device. There's still risks associated with it. So I think it's like it does a decent job at skin thickening, but not for skin tightening. But a lot of people want to get it for skin tightening.
Okay, so it's just used
I don't think
for
you
the
should
wrong
get it, though.
reasons. No, I'm
Yeah.
you're kidding. Let me start with the exfoliant, okay?
Yeah.
Like
Right,
we're starting baby steps.
Right.
There's a lot of conversations now about younger ages getting mini facelifts, right? Like that's all the rage to avoid all these unnecessary expenses and just target the problem and solve it and move on.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's like, if that's something, especially after working with plastics, if I'm not scared of a facelift. Now I would want to make sure you're like going to a really good surgeon. I would be really picky about the surgeon for sure, but they've come so far.
Oh,
and
some
like
of them do such good
yes,
job.
it's incredible. And like a lot of people want the result of a facelift, but they're trying to get it with a non-invasive because I think they're scared of a facelift. But it's nothing to be scared of as long as if you can find someone who like can do a really good job. And there's a lot of really good surgeons now.
ones.
Yeah, it's come so far. Like I think about a facelift back in the day where you're like, it's just like you're so pulled back. Yeah.
And it's all the same faces.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, it's scary.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing people constantly that have had beautiful work done. But the ones that you notice are the ones that haven't. And that's the ones who stand out because the eye doesn't really know, especially like an untrained eye. You don't know why someone looks weird, but you know they look weird. So you're like, you're just like, you look weird.
I saw this one woman, I think she's 73, and she got a facelift, and the surgeon did such a beautiful job because she just looks like a graceful, chic, older woman. She doesn't look like she's 25 and then the body, you know, tells the age. So it was so beautiful, and I was like, okay, we are embarking on a
she
new
probably
era.
feels like she probably actually is like has a lot of youthful energy. Like she probably feels like that represents who she is more.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of with aging, it doesn't have to be so like, oh, I'm striving to like be young, or I'm striving to perfection. It's like, I just want to feel or look how I feel
inside.
Yeah. And so like, I don't feel tired. I don't feel or whatever. It's like, you want that to be representative because that is like your skin and your face. Like that's the first thing people see. And you want
I love that you
like
mentioned that. I think that's such a huge thing to think about, because I think a lot of women, I know a lot of women, and I used to criticize also all the women that would go and get all this work done. And now that I'm getting older and I see my mother getting older, like I understand the reason of women wanting to go and really align how they feel inside to how they look, because at the end of the day, aesthetics is very important for women. Like we love looking at beautiful things, we like feeling beautiful, and to me it truly is a way to feel whole and happy. So it completely changed my mind about plastic surgery as a whole. Jordan, I love your energy. I love your message. I love how you're coming with like simple, straightforward, basic information that can really give us a way to understand ourselves and like support our skin and longevity and all the things, and creating products that actually work. I was telling you when we sat down, I have my Barefaced spritz, and it's already almost empty. I hoped you brought product with you, but she didn't.
I have it for you tomorrow.
Fine. But I appreciate you opening up and being so candid about all the things, because you have, we're talking about foundation of skin, but we also talked about in-office treatments and all the things that, because that's how it works, right? We tap into different modalities. So thank you so much for being here.
This is so fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss my newest episode right here. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, please go and leave a review with your biggest takeaway. I love reading your thoughts. They inspire me. So if you have any suggestions for guests or topics, you can leave them in the comment section. And always remember, you are not alone.